Let me ask you a question that might feel uncomfortable at first, but I need you to stay with me because the answer changes everything. When was the last time you looked at your phone, saw no notifications, and felt a strange mixture of relief and terrifying emptiness? When was the last time you walked into a crowded room, looked at the faces laughing and talking, and felt like you were a different species entirely? You are not just introverted, you are not just shy, and you are certainly not broken. We need to have a very serious, very honest conversation about the reality of your social life. Because if you are watching this, you have likely reached a point in your adulthood where the circle around you has shrunk to a dot. The group chats are silent. The weekend plans are non-existent. The people you thought would be there forever have drifted into the fog of busy lives, and maybe next time. And in the silence of your own room, you have probably asked yourself the most dangerous question of all. Is there something wrong with me? I am here to tell you with absolute certainty that the answer is no. In fact, the emptiness of your social calendar is not a failure of your personality. It is a direct consequence of your psychology, your intelligence, and your evolution. You see, society sells us a lie. From the moment we are in kindergarten, we are told that popularity equals value. We are taught that the person with the most friends is the winner, and the person standing alone is the loser. But what if I told you that in the modern world, that equation is completely backward? What if I told you that your solitude is actually a symptom of a mind that has outgrown the superficial survival mechanisms of the tribe? To understand why you have few friends, we have to stop looking at your social skills and start looking at your processing power. Let's begin with the first and perhaps most profound reason you find yourself alone. You suffer from what psychologists might call high-definition perception in a low-resolution world. Think about how you experience a conversation. When someone talks to you, you aren't just hearing their words. You are reading the micro-expressions on their face. You are hearing the hesitation in their voice. You are analyzing the subtext, the hidden meaning, the emotional weight behind what they are saying. You are processing data at a rate that is 10 times faster than the average person. Now, imagine trying to have small talk with that kind of mind. Imagine trying to discuss the weather or the latest celebrity gossip when your brain is wired to deconstruct the universe. It is physically painful for you. This is not arrogance. I need you to hear this. This is not you thinking you are better than them. This is a compatibility error. It is like trying to run a massive complex software program on a computer that was built 30 years ago. The system crashes when you try to engage in surface-level interaction. Your brain is understimulated, and paradoxically, that under-stimulation feels like exhaustion. You leave social gatherings feeling drained, not because you did too much, but because you had to suppress so much of who you are just to fit into the tiny boxes of acceptable conversation. You crave depth the way a drowning man craves air. You don't want to know what someone did this weekend. You want to know what keeps them awake at night. You want to know what they regret, what they love, what they fear. But here is the brutal truth. Most people are terrified of those conversations. Most people use social interaction as a distraction from themselves, while you use it as an exploration of the self. This fundamental difference creates a wall. You are digging for gold, and they are just trying to pave the road. And eventually, you stop digging, because you realize there is nothing there but concrete. But let's go deeper. Let's talk about the concept of emotional authenticity, because this is the weapon that unknowingly severs your connections. You have a built-in lie detector that never sleeps. You can smell inauthenticity from a mile away. You know that fake laugh people do at parties. It grates on your nerves like sandpaper. You know that customer service voice people use when they want to be liked. It makes you want to run away. Your tolerance for social acting is zero. And in a society that is built on social acting, where networking, politeness, and keeping the peace are valued over truth, this makes you dangerous. It makes you the outlier. People feel exposed around you, even if you never say a word. Have you ever noticed that? Have you noticed that sometimes people seem uncomfortable in your silence? That is because your silence is loud. Your silence asks them to stop performing. And because they don't know who they are without the performance, they retreat. They drift away. They label you intense or hard to read, when in reality, You are just the only real thing in the room. This leads us to the trauma of your past, which we cannot ignore. If we look closely at your timeline, I am willing to bet that you weren't always this way. There was a time when you were open. There was a time when you gave your heart freely, when you were the listener, the healer, the one who fixed everyone else's problems. You were the therapist friend. You carried secrets that weren't yours. You absorbed pain that didn't belong to you. And what did you get in return? Betrayal, indifference, or perhaps just the slow, crushing realization that when you needed help, the room was empty. This is the giver's burnout. You learned through painful experience that most people are energy vampires. They don't mean to be. It's not malicious, but they take your time, your emotional bandwidth, your advice, and your stability. And because you are empathetic, you let them. Until one day, something inside you snapped. You realized that you were setting yourself on fire to keep others warm, and they were complaining about the smoke. So, you built a fortress. The solitude you live in now is not a prison, it is a sanctuary. You didn't lose friends, you evicted trespassers. You raised the rent and access to your life. The price of admission is now consistency, loyalty, and reciprocity. And the moment you raised that price, the crowd disappeared. This is not a tragedy. This is basic economics. You stopped giving away your product for free, and the freeloaders left. You should be proud of that empty room. It signifies that your boundaries are finally working. Now, I want to talk about mental bandwidths and the finite nature of your energy. We live in the age of information overload. Your brain is constantly processing headlines, notifications, work stress, and existential dread. For a person with your level of awareness, the world is a very loud place. You are constantly filtering noise. In this context, a friendship that requires maintenance but provides no nourishment is not just a nuisance. It is an active threat to your mental stability. You have become an energy accountant. You wake up every morning with a specific amount of emotional currency. You have to spend it on your work, your survival, your family, and your own sanity. When you look at the cost of maintaining a mediocre friendship, the text messages, the obligatory coffees, the drama, you realize you simply cannot afford it. You have chosen to invest in yourself. And this is where the magic happens. While others are out spending their energy on temporary distractions, you are reinvesting yours into your growth, your skills, your peace. You have learned the secret that the monks and the philosophers have known for centuries. The relationship you have with yourself is the only one you will have forever. If you cannot sit in a room alone for an hour without reaching for your phone, you are a slave. But you have mastered the art of being alone. You have conquered the fear of silence. That makes you powerful, but it also makes you unrelatable to those who are still running from themselves. Let's shift gears to the intellectual gap. This is the one nobody likes to admit because it sounds superior, but we are here for the truth, not for politeness. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Eleanor Roosevelt said that, and she was right. Where does your mind live? Does it live in the who said what, and who is dating who, or does it live in the abstract? Do you think about the future of humanity? Do you think about the structure of the cosmos? Do you think about art, psychology, history, systems? If your mind lives in the abstract, you will find it incredibly difficult to connect with people whose minds live in the immediate. It is like speaking two different languages. You are speaking in concepts. They are speaking in anecdotes. You try to bridge the gap. You try to dumb it down or simplify your thoughts. But that feels like cutting off a limb. Eventually, you stop trying. You realize that you would rather read a book that challenges you than have a conversation that bores you. You would rather watch a documentary than go to a bar. You choose the company of dead authors and distant thinkers over the company of living people who make you feel dead inside. This intellectual isolation is the price of a high-functioning mind. But consider the alternative. Would you trade your curiosity for popularity? Would you trade your insight for a calendar full of dinner parties where nobody says anything real? I didn't think so. Now, we must address the consistency paradox. You value stability. You are a person of your word. If you say you will be there, you are there. If you say you care, you care. You operate with a high level of integrity. The problem is, We live in a flake culture. We live in a time where cancelling plans at the last minute is normalized, where ghosting is an acceptable way to end a relationship, where loyalty is a concept found only in history books. For someone like you, this modern lack of consistency is not just annoying, it is insulting. It violates your core code of ethics. When someone is inconsistent with you, you don't just get mad, you lose respect. And once you lose respect for someone, you cannot be their friend. You cannot pretend everything is fine when you know they are unreliable. So, you cut them off. You have a one-strike policy, or maybe two, if you are feeling generous. But you do not tolerate disrespect disguised as busyness. This rigorous filtering process means that very few people make the cut. You are looking for a needle in a haystack, a person who is authentic, consistent, intellectually stimulating, and emotionally safe. Is it any wonder your circle is small? You are looking for a diamond in a landfill. But here is the twist. Here is the part where we flip the script. People assume that because you have few friends, you are cold. They assume you don't care. But the opposite is true. You care too much. You are a high-stakes lover. When you love with a ferocity that terrifies average people. You are ride or die. If a friend called you at 3 a.m. with a body to bury, you would bring a shovel. You wouldn't ask questions. That is the level of loyalty you offer. But that level of intensity is heavy. It is a weighted blanket, comforting to those who need it, but suffocating to those who just want something light. You don't know how to do light. You don't know how to be a drinking buddy. You want to be a soulmate or nothing. And this all or nothing mentality is your protective mechanism. It ensures that the only people who stay in your life are the ones who can handle the weight of your love. You are saving your capacity for the people who deserve it. You are hoarding your kindness, your attention, and your care for the rare moments when they will truly matter. You are not empty, you are concentrated. You are not a barren desert, you are a deep hidden well. Let's talk about the evolution of peace. As you get older, your definition of fun changes. 10 years ago, fun might have been chaos. It might have been loud music, shots, and meeting strangers. Today, fun is peace. Fun is a clean apartment, a good meal, a long walk, a moment of clarity. You have fallen in love with peace, and you have realized that most people bring chaos. They bring their unresolved trauma, their drama, their noise into your sanctuary. And you have simply decided that the price of entry is too high. You are protective of your peace because you fought so hard to get it. You remember the chaos. You remember the anxiety, and you will do anything to avoid going back there. This choice, peace over popularity, is the ultimate sign of maturity. It is the moment you decide that you are enough. You don't need the validation of a crowd to know you exist. You don't need 50 likes on a photo to feel beautiful. You don't need a busy weekend to feel important. You are self-validating, and that makes you invincible. However, I know that sometimes late at night, the silence feels heavy. I know that sometimes you wonder if you will end up truly alone. I know the fear. But let me offer you a new perspective on the future. You are not destined to be alone forever. You are in a period of hibernation. You are in a cocoon phase. You are shedding the skin of who you were told to be, and you are becoming who you actually are. This process requires solitude. You cannot hear your own inner voice if you are constantly surrounded by the voices of others. The friends you will make in the future, and you will make them, will be different. They won't be friends of convenience. They won't be friends of proximity. People you just happen to work with or went to school with. They will be friends of Tefi alignment. They will be people who meet you at this new level. They will be the people who have also done the work, who have also walked through the fire, who also value peace and truth. These friendships will be rare. You might only find 2 or 3 in your entire lifetime. But one friendship of that caliber is worth 1,000 superficial acquaintances. One person who truly sees you is worth a stadium of people who only look at you. So, stop apologizing for your standards. Stop trying to lower yourself to fit into spaces that are too small for your spirit. Stop thinking you are broken because you don't fit into a broken world. You are a curator. You are the museum director of your own life. You have taken down the cheap posters and you are waiting for the masterpieces. The empty walls are not a sign of poverty, they are a sign of taste. Walk through your life with your head high. Look at the empty chair across from you at the coffee shop and smile at it. That empty chair represents your refusal to settle. It represents your strength. It represents the fact that you would rather be your own best friend than be surrounded by strangers who call themselves friends. You are walking a path that few dare to walk. The path of the seeker. The path of the observer. The path of the truth teller. It is a quiet path. It is a lonely path at times. But it is the only path that leads to somewhere real. Embrace the silence. It is not empty. It is full of answers. It is full of you, and you, my friend, are more than enough. Let's examine this from a biological standpoint for a moment, because it helps to ground these feelings in reality. Human beings evolved in tribes of about 150 people, Dunbar's number. In those tribes, survival depended on conformity. If you were too different, you were exiled, and if you were exiled, you died. This is why the feeling of loneliness triggers such a primal panic in your brain. Your amygdala is screaming, I am alone, therefore I am in danger. But you need to update your software. You are no longer on the Savanna. You are in a modern, digital, fragmented world. Being alone no longer equals death. In fact, in the 21st century, the ability to be alone is the ultimate survival skill. It is the superpower of the creator. Look at the people who have changed the world. Look at the artists, the inventors, the writers, the visionaries. Almost all of them spent massive amounts of time in solitude. They had to. You cannot download a new vision for the future if you are constantly syncing your hard drive with everyone else's current version of reality. You have to disconnect to update. Your lack of friends might just be the universe clearing the deck for you to do something great. It might be the necessary vacuum that precedes a massive creative explosion. You have time now. You have the one resource that everyone else is begging for. You have hours. What are you doing with them? Are you using your solitude to consume or to create? Are you using it to feel sorry for yourself or to build yourself? This is the pivot point. This is the moment where you take the sadness of loneliness and transmute it into the gold of solitude. Think about the quality of your attention. When you do speak to someone, you give them 100%. In a world of fragmented attention spans, where people are scrolling while talking, your undivided attention is a gift of immense value. You are rare, you are a limited edition, and you need to start treating yourself like one. You don't find limited edition items in the bargain bin. You don't find them everywhere. You find them in the vault. You are in the vault, and consider the aspect of masking fatigue. Many neurodivergent people with ADHD, autism, or just high sensitivity, spend their entire lives masking. They mimic social behaviors to fit in. They study how to be human. This is exhausting. It leads to burnout. If you have stepped back from people, it might be because your brain has finally said, I am done acting. This is a victory. It feels like a loss, but it is a victory. It is the victory of your true self over your performed self. You have stopped performing the play for an audience that wasn't even watching. You have walked off the stage, and sure, it's quiet backstage, but at least you can take off the costume. At least you can breathe. The friends you lost were friends with the actor, not the person. They liked the mask, not the face. Let them go. They were never yours to begin with. You are now waiting for the people who will applaud the face, the scars, the reality. Let's also touch on the predictability of drama. You are likely a pattern recognition machine. You can see the trajectory of a bad decision before it happens. You see a friend dating the same toxic type of person for the 10th time. You see the inevitable crash. You try to warn them. They don't listen. They crash. They come to you to cry. You comfort them. They do it again. This cycle is agonizing for you. It is like watching a movie you have already seen 100 times, and it is a bad movie. You have lost the patience for willful ignorance. You have lost the patience for people who complain about problems they are actively creating. This doesn't make you unsupportive. It makes you pragmatic. You want to solve problems, not pet them. And since most people just want their problems petted, you find yourself standing on the sidelines. But realize this, your life is drama-free. That is a luxury. Do not underestimate the value of waking up on a Sunday morning with no conflicts to resolve. No apologies to make, no, he said, she said. To decipher. That white space is where your happiness lives. And finally, I want you to think about the concept of resonance. Everything in the universe operates on frequency. You are vibrating at a specific frequency. Let's call it the frequency of deep truth. Most of the world is vibrating at the frequency of comfortable illusion. These frequencies do not mix, they repel each other. When you try to lower your frequency to match theirs, you feel physical dissonance. You feel sick. When they try to raise theirs to match yours, they feel vertigo. They get dizzy. So you exist apart. But you are transmitting. You are sending out a signal. And somewhere out there are others tuned to the frequency of deep truth. They are rare, yes, but they are there. And usually, you find them when you are doing the things you love, not the things you should do. You find them in the bookstore, not the club. You find them in the workshop, not the party. You find them on the path of your own purpose. So, the strategy for finding your tribe is not to go out and hunt for friends. It is to become so undeniably in yourself, so deeply effective in your own purpose, that you become a lighthouse. You don't run around the island looking for boats. You stand still, you shine your light, and the boats that are looking for the light will find Finyor. The next time you feel that pang of loneliness, I want you to visualize it differently. Don't see it as a hole. See it as a space. A space you have cleared. A space you are protecting. A space that is waiting for something worthy to fill it. You have few friends because you are breaking the cycle of superficiality that has plagued humanity for generations. You are the cycle breaker. You are the pioneer of a new way of relating heart to heart, mind to mind, soul to soul. It is lonely at the front, but pioneers are always miles ahead of the settlers. But the view is incredible. So, sit in your quiet room, look at your silent phone, and whisper a thank you. Thank you for the peace. Thank you for the clarity. Thank you for the strength to stand alone. You are not friendless, you are free, and your tribe is coming. But until they get here, enjoy the company of the only person who will be with you from your first breath to your last, you. And honestly, you're pretty damn interesting to hang out with.